What is the secret behind the world's most famous smile? For centuries, it has captivated millions, a silent puzzle locked away in a gentle expression. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we will journey together into the heart of the Renaissance to explore the secret psychology behind Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. My story begins not in a grand museum, but in a small, dusty library in Florence, Italy. My name is Alex. I was a young art history student, and I was completely fascinated by the Renaissance. To me, Florence was not just a city, it was a living museum, a place where giants like Michelangelo and Raphael had walked. But one name echoed louder than all the others: Leonardo. My professor, a wise old man named Dr. Rossi, saw the passion in my eyes. One afternoon, he gave a lecture that changed my perspective forever. He didn't just talk about paintings and sculptures, he talked about the minds behind them. To understand the Mona Lisa, he said, his voice quiet but intense, you must not look at the painting first, you must look at the man. You must understand Leonardo's mind. That sentence became my mission. I wanted to understand Leonardo's mind. I spent the next few weeks buried in books, not just art books, but books on science, anatomy, and engineering. I learned that Leonardo was not just an artist. He was a scientist, an inventor, a true Renaissance man. His curiosity was endless. He wanted to understand everything. I found copies of his famous notebooks. They were filled with incredible drawings and writings. He drew flying machines, detailed maps, and complex weapons. But what interested me the most were his studies of the human body. He drew muscles, bones, and nerves with amazing accuracy. He was obsessed with how the human body worked. This was not a common practice for artists at the time. It was revolutionary. He believed that to paint the body, an artist must first understand it from the inside out. This was my first major clue. The psychology of the Mona Lisa did not begin on the canvas. It began on Leonardo's dissection table. He studied how emotions were connected to the physical body. He wrote about how a feeling of happiness was not just an idea, but a physical event. It was a specific set of muscles pulling the lips, a certain light appearing in the eyes, and a slight warmth on the cheeks. He was studying the science of emotion. Armed with this knowledge, I began to study his painting techniques. I learned about his most famous technique called sfumato. The word sfumato in Italian means to evaporate like smoke. It is a technique where the artist creates very soft transitions between colors and tones. There are no hard lines or sharp edges. Everything blends together smoothly, like a memory or a dream. Leonardo used sfumato masterfully in the Mona Lisa. If you look closely at the corners of her mouth and eyes, you will see it. There are no clear lines that define her smile. Instead, there are layers of delicate, transparent paint. He used soft shadows to create the expression. This is why her smile seems to change. When you look directly at her mouth, the smile seems to disappear because your eyes are looking for a clear line that isn't there. But when you look at her eyes, the smile reappears in your peripheral vision, where your eyes are more sensitive to shadows. It was a brilliant trick. Leonardo was playing with the way our eyes and brain work. He knew that a smile is not a static thing. A real smile is a fleeting moment, a brief movement of muscles. By using sfumato, he captured that fleeting quality. He painted a smile that is both there and not there. He created an interactive experience. The viewer's own perception helps to create the smile. He was not just painting a portrait, he was painting the experience of seeing a person. But the secret was deeper than just science and technique. Who was this woman? Who was the Mona Lisa? I learned her real name was Lisa Gherardini. She was the wife of a wealthy silk merchant in Florence named Francesco del Giocondo. That is why the painting is sometimes called La Gioconda. Francesco commissioned the portrait of his wife, probably to celebrate the birth of their second son. She was a real person with a real life. I tried to imagine what it was like for her, sitting for this famous artist. The process was not quick. Leonardo worked on this painting for years. It is said that he never even delivered it to Francesco. He kept it with him until he died. It was that special to him. History tells us something fascinating about the painting sessions. Leonardo knew that it was difficult for a person to hold a single expression for a long time. A forced smile looks fake and stiff. He wanted to capture a genuine, natural moment of contentment. So he hired musicians and jesters to perform during the sessions. He wanted to keep Lisa entertained and relaxed. He wanted her to have a real reason to smile. Suddenly, I had a new image in my mind. I saw Lisa Gherardini sitting in Leonardo's studio. Soft music is playing. A storyteller is telling a funny or charming tale. And in a brief, unscripted moment, a gentle, genuine smile forms on her lips. It is not a big, loud laugh. It is a quiet, internal smile. And Leonardo, with his deep understanding of anatomy and his masterful Sfumato technique, captures that exact moment. He captures the thought behind the smile. The secret psychology of the Mona Lisa was becoming clear to me. It was a perfect fusion of three things: scientific knowledge, artistic technique, and human empathy. 1. The science. Leonardo's study of anatomy allowed him to understand how a smile is physically formed. 2. The technique. His invention of sfumato allowed him to paint the smile in a way that was mysterious and ever-changing. 3. The empathy. His understanding of human nature pushed him to create a comfortable, real environment for Lisa so he could capture a genuine emotion, not a fake pose. My research in Florence felt complete, but there was one final step. I had to see her. I had to see the painting with my own eyes. I saved my money and bought a train ticket to Paris. I was going to the Louvre. Walking into the Louvre was overwhelming. It is a massive palace of art. But I had only one goal. I followed the signs for the Mona Lisa. The crowds were large, just as I expected. Everyone was pushing to get a look at the world's most famous painting. Finally, I was there. She was smaller than I imagined, protected behind thick glass. But her presence was immense. I stood there for a long time, letting the noise of the crowd fade away. I wasn't just looking at a painting anymore. I saw the science in the perfect structure of her face. I saw the technique in the smoky softness of her eyes and lips. And most importantly, I felt the humanity. I saw a real woman, captured in a quiet moment of peace. The musicians, the storytellers, the years of work, it was all there. Leonardo did not just paint her face. He painted her spirit. He painted a moment of connection between the artist, the subject, and now, with me, the viewer 500 years later. The secret was that there was no single secret. The Mona Lisa is not a puzzle with one answer. It is a mirror. It reflects our own questions about happiness, mystery, and the human soul. Leonardo's true genius was creating a work of art that continues to ask questions and engage our minds centuries after he was gone.